We all know that Plants vs. Zombies has a very simple story. The zombies come to invade the world, and Crazy Dave, who is a good gardener, creates plants that help get rid of the zombies. Simple, right? Well, that's not how it is. There's a theory that explains to us how this whole world of Plants vs. Zombies works. It's a complete farce. A story strategically manipulated to sell and make a profit. Otherwise, these characters will die. And it fails, which is a completely crazy theory, even crazier than Crazy Dave. But clues within the game make us believe that this is real. Do you want to know what it's about? Well, get ready to find out all about this. It all starts when analyzing the maps from the Plants vs. Zombies game series. Garden Warfare is a 3D game where you compete in a shooter against other enemies to complete different tasks. Many players had quite a few theories about what the lore of this Garden Warfare saga is. They wondered where the other humans were. What was the point of capturing certain zones to see who would win? Why did Crazy Dave gather so many clothes to launch them from a giant cannon? And the truth is, my friends, if you connect all of this, you'll realize there's something very deep they're hiding from us. Let's start by analyzing the houses in the city called Suburbia. It seems like it's a very pleasant place where many people lived and were good neighbors. Until you realize that there are several suspicious things in these places. For example, why do the bars have the letters from Plants vs. Zombies? Why do the cars also have this on their license plates? Why are there reminders for the neighbors, which seem to be very strange? Let's look at each of these points one by one. Let's start with the announcements that are around. Several of these seem to make no sense and were just written for the sake of it. For example, this one here, blabidi boo blah, blabidi, blah blah, blibidi, blabidi blue blue, thank you. Very strange, don't you think? Or what about the license plates on the vehicles? What, did everyone agree that the initials on their plates would say Plants vs. Zombies? Or what about this directory of people who live in the residential buildings? Literally, it just says Garvin, Sharvin, Harvin, Rabin, Lavin, Mavin, Garmin, names, and more names. This tells us that really nobody lives here. Even the intercom is fake because it's drawn on. It seems like this whole place is just a set. Like one of those paintball arenas where you pretend you're in a real war. But if that's the case, who's behind all of this? The first suspect that comes to my mind, of course, is Dr. Zombos. But actually that wouldn't make sense. Because why would he write such strange things in the suburbs? Most likely, if it had been him, he would have been much more careful and we probably never would have come up with this theory. The second suspect is definitely Crazy Dave, but how is it that this character who was supposed to save us from the zombies is behind all this? Guys, I have multiple pieces of evidence. Across the maps, there are several things involving Crazy Dave. Advertisements, structures, and even statues of Crazy Dave. But the biggest clue we have is his mansion. How does Crazy Dave have a mansion? Where did he get so much money? Or how did he become so famous in this citadel to be able to build it? Some attribute it to the lore from the original game, where he saved humanity. Of course he was going to get something in return, and with that he built his mansion. It sounds like a really good theory, but there are several things that make us suspect that this wasn't the case. The mansion itself seems very convincing, but it has several irregularities. For example, we have two practically identical cars parked at this mansion. Also, according to the objective of the Walnut Hills map, the zombies want to reach this mansion and capture it. So that Crazy Dave sleeps on the street, wow, that's a really strange objective. And of course, there's also this greenhouse. A greenhouse that's completely empty and doesn't have any plants inside. Are you serious? Crazy Dave, who's a plant expert, has a completely empty greenhouse? Sure, maybe the plants here came to life and went off to fight the zombies, right? Well, honestly guys, I think this mansion is just another part of the hoax. Actually, Crazy Dave doesn't live here. It's just a simple decoy to make us fall for his lie. And I can confirm this because in another map, Main Street, we can see his mansion in the mountains. But this wouldn't make sense, since in the Walnut Hills map we can see that everything is flat and there are no mountains around. Besides, it seems like his mansion is surrounded by a lot of vegetation, which means it couldn't be seen from another angle. So this here isn't a whole world, but just a simple simulation. And wait, because this gets deeper and deeper. I have more evidence to prove this. If you ever played this game and found references to other games or even Plants vs. Zombies comics, let me tell you, they're not just simple references. Just think about it. How could there be so many obvious references in this world? Do the plants and zombies themselves know about this? Do they know they're inside a video game? Basically, we can see that in one of the arcades, there's also the Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare game, as if they themselves were aware of what they have created. And before you say that they're just simple references, let's go with the biggest proof there is for this whole theory. And it's found in Dr. Zombos' main office, where we can see a document thanking him for his participation in the creation of the first game. That's right, friends. This whole simulation is just a simple sham. The wars between plants and zombies were never real, at least not in this Garden Warfare series. They were pretending all this time, but why? There's a very simple explanation which leads us to a completely disturbing answer. And it has to do with the fact that Crazy Dave and Dr. Zombos were placed inside this digital simulation with a strategic purpose to design engaging games so that many people play them. Make a lot of money and never let them die. Isn't that right, friends? Basically, they made these two characters figure out how to keep from being shut down and erased from existence forever. It's kind of like two artificial intelligences fighting to survive. And there is a lot of evidence for this. Do you remember the weird ads that were all over the maps? Did you notice that the furniture inside the houses seemed completely fake, like simple objects just to simulate something? The two different mansions? And if you're still not convinced, we have to go to the book that contains the descriptions of each of the plants, the Almanac. These descriptions are completely vague and sound really strange, in the style of the Plants vs. Zombies games. Some examples are: Pea Shooter Commando lives in the jungles and is the toughest pea there is. After stealing Zombos' train, the bandit cactus retired. Little is known about Pharaoh's son until his sunflower-shaped pyramid was discovered in the 18th century. But the description that makes us doubt or confirms this theory the most is the following. Formed by an old mystical stone, this cactus lives beneath the desert. Legends say that a stoic guardian will return to us in times of need. Will he be able to save us from Dr. Zombos' deceptions? Where exactly did he get that cool armor from? Did Crazy Dave make it all up? Only time will tell. They're literally letting us know in a very obvious way that Crazy Dave made up all these descriptions. They're basically telling us that these characters we thought were new are actually also made up by Crazy Dave. Let's not forget the cards we buy to unlock new outfits or characters. We thought we were unlocking something special. But if you look around in several places, we can find spots where we see parts of these outfits. As if these same characters just put them on and acted like they were someone else. Literally, one of the descriptions of Los Elotes says El Elote Fiesta didn't have time to change his costume. There's nothing different here, friends. They're just the same characters as always, dressed differently. So that we think we're actually playing that lore, what do they want us to believe? Just think about it. In the game Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville, wouldn't it have been obvious for these new characters to go help Crazy Dave when he needed it the most? Basically, in that game there are no outfits or any different plants or zombies. So the question here is, was it really Crazy Dave who wrote this book? And the answer is yes, my friends, literally, in real life. They showed us this in this other almanac that went on sale. This book explains several interesting things about Plants vs. Zombies. But as you already know, in the usual strange and crazy style. Literally, they tell you that to play the game the right way, you have to put a silver pot on your head. Just like our great friend Crazy Dave always wears it. And they even tell us that Dave himself helped write this book. So I wouldn't be surprised if this other book we see in the game was also written by him. Besides, previously, we had already seen another almanac that he also wrote. All those descriptions we saw of the characters that we thought were different are simply false. They're the same plants and the same zombies, just disguised. That's right, friends. Crazy Dave and Zomboss are the ones behind this whole illusion of Plants vs. Zombies in Garden Warfare. Have you ever thought about what perspective this map in the games is shown from? When we're about to start the match or when it ends and someone wins? Who is the one with the control or the account? Which places have been captured? Yes, it's Dave and Zombo's friends. This perspective we have when a game loads or ends, that's them. And we still have more evidence. The game provides notifications for various events, such as being kicked out of the server by Crazy Dave. What are you doing with your boring real-life stuff? Start playing this game, play this game, please? Even in some parts, when you try to leave the map, you might find messages like, "What are you doing?" Literally, Crazy Dave wants you to keep playing Plants vs. Zombies non-stop, so they can keep living and not be erased from existence. Actually, the zombies and the plants don't have a rivalry, they get along very well with each other. If not, how do you explain the main garden in Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2? Half of the garden is for the plants and the other half of the garden is for the zombies. In different maps, we can see that there are shops for zombies and shops for plants within the same locations. Besides, we also have this right here. Wow, this is really getting weird, but I think it proves the point pretty well, doesn't it? Actually, I think the real villain here isn't the zombie nor the plants, but the company PopCap itself. Who created these two characters and gave them consciousness so that in one way or another they would work for them? Did they help them create all these games or all these ideas? So that people play and spend more and more each time. Crazy Dave sees how to put references from the other games, so that while you're playing, I don't know, Garden Warfare 2, you see references to Garden Warfare 1 and want to go buy that other game. Or even the Plants vs. Zombies comics that exist, which maybe you wouldn't know about otherwise and now you can go buy them. Crazy Dave isn't fighting against the zombies, but against the company itself just to be allowed to live. Anyway, friends, what do you think about this theory? Do you have anything else to say or add? We'll be reading your comments.